What's up, guys? This is the PMP4 Diagnostics video. I did tic-tac-toe, memory, and Simon, and I'm going to go over a real quick demonstration of each of them and a rundown of a little bit of the code. Let's go ahead and get to it. First off, I did this small little menu here. The settings and quit button don't do anything unless you build it. The settings just doesn't do anything at all, actually. Here we have three choices. Let's start with tic-tac-toe. I've got a bunch of text here on there that displays the turn value as well as the score, which increments on upon winning. And I'll show you the code for the win check in a second. Let's just go ahead and get the player 2. See that increments there. Resetting now. Let's try and get the tie. Here we go. And now you see neither of them have incremented, and we have the tie displayed, and the turn value actually increments. I could, in future renditions, just get rid of that entirely. Let's take a look at a little bit of the code. So the biggest thing, this is the manager, and this is the clicker. The biggest thing that's going on in the manager is the actual win check. If all of the clickers in my clicker array, which is this, have an entry value of 1, which is for player 1, and 2, which is for player 2, it will then trigger the corresponding method. Those methods control all of the values that control the flow of the mouse down and mouse up turn events. If neither of the two players have won, then on the mouse up, it checks for a tie and increments the turn count. Another cool thing that's going on is the reset. I run 2 for each loops, 1 for each of the markers, which is this. I have this as just a script on each one of the markers that I've instantiated on the board. This is just for finding purposes and quick destruction. I just destroy each of them, and then I reset each of the entry values of my clicker in my clicker array to 0, so nobody's won yet. Otherwise, it would just trigger the turn on the first turn that whoever goes first would win. And then I change them all to have not been clicked. And that is basically the rundown of my tic-tac-toe. Next, let's try Simon. Oh, well, I mean, let's choose it from the menu, just to be cool, just to have some fun with it, you know. All right, let's do Simon. Oh, what did it click? What did it click? I don't. All right, fail, reset. All right, so that was my first one. Let's try it again. Now, mind you, I have a terrible memory when it comes to things like this, so I am not sure how far I'll get here. And if I get too far, I'm just gonna cut it. If I get to 10, I'll cut it just so I can talk about the code. Maybe I can fit everything pretty nicely into here. Nice. All right. Okay. Okay, it was, that's it, heck, alright, hell yeah, nice, this is going good, oh, oops, alright, well that's Simon, it works pretty well. Taking a look at a little bit of the code, we have just 2 scripts associated with it. I've got the clicker itself, which has a few different things. I've got a color struct, which returns a switch depending on the name of the object for which color I want it to emit whenever it's selected as the turn, as the sequence turn. And then I've got a on mouse down and on mouse up again, doing 2 different actions to control the flow a little bit better. The mouse down changes the emission color to this is on the player clicking, changes the emission color to the value that I've chosen in this struct up here. And as long as the player is holding the mouse down, it'll stay lit up, so that's a nice little feature that I put in there, and then whenever the player lifts up, it actually does all the calculations instead of just doing it right there. And basically, I did the same kind of flow with a manager and controlling all of the variables in the manager through the mouse click on the actual clicker box. And again, I made a clicker array and an array of materials that I was using, which are the different materials there. And I was changing all of those to the colors. Something that I had to look up here was the emission color. This property tag using the set color, I didn't know what the emissive color was. And whenever you're using that, you have to change the actual material to real-time baking instead of, well, in real-time GI instead of baked GI. Otherwise, this will not work. And that is done. If you go to the, these are Google colors, by the way. I took the hex codes. If you go to this, the global illumination, it has to be set to real-time and not baked. Very important, otherwise it will not illuminate. I'll demonstrate that real quick, actually. So, boom, baked. A few minutes left here. Alright. Let me just make sure it kept the value I was in play mode. Okay. Alright, let's play. Game Simon. Notice how now it's not lighting up at all. You see that? Not lighting up at all. Eventually I'll get that green one and it'll happen on the first one. And you'll see that even though I'm clicking on it, it's not lighting up. Wow. Come on. There, you see? See, nothing's lighting up. So that's basically what happens. Let me just move on real quickly, see if I can crush the memory game out. And let me change that back real quick. You never want to. Sweet, there we go. All right, let's truck on to the memory game. A quick overview. I've only made 3 different types of pairs, but I've laid them out twice each. So there's 2 pairs of each of the things that I've laid out. Let's go ahead and it's 6 matches total. All right. Nice. Here we go. Oh, there it is. Sweet. Look at that. Alright, reset. And it instantiates in a different pattern, as you can see. So each time you do it, it's new, which is a very nice feature because you never want to just play the same matches over and over again. You'll just know where everything is. Ooh. See, there was no blue pair up top the last time. And let me show you a little bit of the code. Alright, let's go to the memory manager. A lot of stuff is going on here. The shuffle, I actually had to take this. This is something I researched online. I'm shuffling each thing by taking a temporary marker, making it markers random, the markers random marker S. It's basically taking the temp, setting the temp as the temporary's placeholder, and then making the actual array's placeholder the temp marker, and then changing it back. And then I'm doing the same thing in line with the variables that I'm using. With another array that I've made up here, again, a clicker array, doing this for everything. It's just easy to have clickers for these types of games in this fashion, and working back and forth with the clickers in order to better share data with each other. And here I've got a similar on mouse down. It's checking whether this is clicked. The manager, if it instantiates on the pick one on the manager variable. So the manager has a game object for pick 1 and pick 2. And the first click instantiates it in the pick 1 game object placeholder. And the second click puts it in the pick 2 holder. Now, whenever there's a pair, it actually just runs this check here. On the flip, it takes it runs this. Okay. So on the second pick, you have to run the flip coroutine, which pauses, shows the user both of the things, and if they do not equal each other, then it just flips them back over and destroys the placeholders that I've put there, the instantiated objects. If they do equal each other, then it destroys them as well as the game objects associated with them. It doesn't actually destroy the game object, it just sets it to inactive. And then it takes the match data text variable, which is the matches left that you saw, and decrements it 1. And that, it's not very dynamic, because if I changed how many cards were on the board, I would have to manually change the data number and decrement it that way, but it's what I got for right now. And let's see what's interesting. What else is interesting? That's pretty much it. I did reset a very similar way that I did the other one, that I did the other resets. Yeah. So those are my games. This was my first video attempt, and I just want to show you my Trello board, which I believe is not the Dazzle board. It's the PMP4 Diagnostic board with all of my different setup stuff for each of my different projects, as well as my documentation that I've included for all of my research and stuff that I've had to do. And I hope you've enjoyed watching. The time here is 12.5 minutes. Well, let me show you these resources, because that was part of the requirement. I need to show you these resources that I've used. This is really, really helpful. The .NET Framework documentation from Microsoft explains in serious detail so many things, and it goes into so much depth, and a lot of what you're doing in C# is just going to be some of the generic functions and methods that have been included in C# itself and not Unity's API. So it's good to have this. I like this documentation. It goes into way more depth. And yeah, that is my project, and thank you for watching. I'm within my limit for 5 minutes per game at 13 minutes, so yeah. Oh, and I have to display the rubric. For tic-tac-toe. I believe I had to display that in the video. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for watching.